I feel bad for everyone that has to go to Regal theaters.
Why?
That fucking commercial they play in the beginning of the movies.
This place is nicer than my apartment. Surely you can't be serious. I am serious. Don't call me Shirley.
It's the worst.
So I gotta get this going for me, which is nice.
I hate that guy the most.
Is he the same guy that does I think this is the start of a beautiful...
Yeah, because that's something that happens. The movie theater
How did he do
worker comes in before the screen before every film.
Yeah, no, that does happen a lot.
It's like very much their answer to AMC's Nicole Kidman ad. And like, oh, let's get Danny Trejo and just have these fucking people quote cringy fucking lines from movies.
It could have been written better too, because some of them don't even work.
It don't make sense.
Yeah. So you're saying there's a chance?
No, there's no chance because the fucking seats are taken.
The person said you can't sit with us. It's pretty direct, pretty clear.
It's just awful, and I hate it every time I watch it. And it's my least favorite part of going to the movies.
You know who I hate too? I hate the dorks that the other commercial that comes on. The characters who see all the movies.
Oh yeah, because they have
I see
Regal
all
Unlimited
movies. That is. They abandoned that commercial. They went for the big three now. They brought them all together. It's like Infinity War.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind them. They're fine.
I think it's more so the one that plays before is just get on with the show at this point. These fucking dorks.
And now they're doing that stupid Ewan McGregor ad in the middle of the previews. It's just previews, and it's, what is it, Travelocity or Expedia or whatever?
It's a vacation advertisement.
And then I just do more previews.
Could be Booking.com.
Booking.com.
You ever think about that? It happens all the time. I see a commercial, and I'm like, I've seen this commercial maybe 1,700 times. Could not tell you for the life of me what this is for until the end.
Not use a product if I don't like if the commercial bothers me. I will actively, consciously avoid using that product.
That's fair.
Good commercial. Don't turn into your parents commercial. That's a good one. That always.
But who is it for again?
I think it's Progressive. It's some insurance company.
When I notice myself doing something like my mom, it really pisses me off, and I try to never do it again. Maybe I'll sign up for Progressive.
Honestly, like you said, it's like my favorite running commercial. Probably isn't that insurance company.
Well, some people will do commercials to be like, the world, it's a massive place. Don't miss out on any of it. Audi. So what am I going to take an Audi around the world?
It's always, in Super Bowl season's coming up, there's always a really sad commercial for like Bud Light. Or no, Budweiser. Bud Lights are usually fun. Budweiser, they get serious.
What was the company that killed the kid? Remember that commercial where they killed somebody? Wasn't it a drunk driving commercial or
maybe
car safety? Audi.
Sponsored by Audi.
Put on your seatbelt, or else your kid might die.
Yeah, I think
you watching that, like, no seatbelts.
No, yeah.
We're freewheeling it.
I mean, that's not a commercial that bothers me. Like, it's more of just like commercials I think they're funny, but they're not.
I liked the Super Bowl before the pandemic, and everyone was blaming Baby Nut for the pandemic. They're like, this all started when you were born.
I like Baby Nut. Yeah. I was a fan.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Nerd Soup Podcast. I am Bo Oliver, joined here today with Aaron the Nerd Soup Monkey, and we are back, as you saw from the title, to review M. Night Shyamalan's new movie, Knock at the Cabin, and we're also going to talk about some of the stories in Hollywood over this past week, some box office news. Speaking of Regal and AMC, some controversial things happening over there. Just for AMC, Regal so far is fine, except for their terrible promotions.
Yeah.
And we've got some other interesting stories as well. And of course, you can listen to this podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're listening here on YouTube, hello. If you subscribe to our YouTube podcast channel, thank you. And follow us on social media at NerdSoup, at BoSoup, at NerdSoupMonkey on pretty much all platforms. I'm excited for this video. It's our first podcast in 2 weeks. We took off last week, but we managed to get Teddy here for a nice little spoiler discussion for The Last of Us. So, and it's funny, coming off of our episode 4 review, I was talking to my mom about the episode. She loved everything that I criticized. She's like, I love that joke book, and she's so cute and funny. And
no, a lot of people liked it.
Yeah, they did.
Which is cool. Like I'm not going to say they're wrong and we're right. I just think we had a different opinion on it, and that's fine. But I saw people loving the character stuff and the development and things like that. So no, it's fun. We kind of shit on Teddy for not liking last week's episode. Now it's kind of reversed where we're getting
I know, yeah, we got the shit on us.
So it's fun. But yeah, so far so good. I mean, got that Friday release. I'm excited. I finally, all day I couldn't think of, because in the preview they show the bigger monster. I'm like, what do they call those in the game again? The growlers.
Right. I thought,
Could be wrong with that too.
is the
But
bloater a step up?
the bloater. No, yeah, it's not even Growler. Well, anyway, like Groot in the new Guardians of the Galaxy
Proud growler.
looks just like him.
Is he juicing?
I think so.
The man's got broad shoulders.
He's
He's got that Rajon Rondo wingspan.
What? Is that a thing?
Rajon Rondo's got like a 6'9" wingspan.
Yeah, but he's lanky. Groot's brolic. He's looking like...
He's got square shoulders, man. Go look up you're a Rondo guy. You should know his shoulders.
I mean, yeah, I'm a Rondo guy. I just never... It's not like... I don't think he's a wide guy.
He is a wide guy. Look at him.
Rajon Rondo.
Rajon Rondo wideness.
Rajon Rondo wide.
How wide is that, man?
I can't spell anymore. No, it just came up Rajon Rondo wife. No. I want to see how wide my man is.
Let's not talk about that.
No. I'm wider.
Oh my God, that's like Teddy thinking he's bigger than Momoa.
I mean, Jason Momoa is is a superhero. Rajon Rondo is a point guard.
Yeah, and if you put them next to each other, they're probably around the same height.
Yeah, maybe.
It's always funny with NBA players. Like, oh, he's a little guy. You put him next to Bill
like
Clinton,
Steph Curry.
he towers over
he's small.
him.
He would
Steph Curry's
put a
like
shadow on
taller
me.
than everybody I know. It's so funny, man. Oh, and I totally forgot to mention, maybe I'll put this at the top of the podcast. Doing a little podcast editing. Magic. For all of our patrons and all of our would-be patrons, the first 4 episodes of the Bo Oliver podcast are now live. So that is my solo podcast where I will be tracking all the movies I watch throughout the year, week to week to week. Although the first episode of February is going to be a little double up because I didn't watch enough movies the first week of February to do a single episode. But yeah, for $1, you can listen to me just
new releases or
talk shit
repeats?
about repeats, everything, anything I log on Letterboxd.
So you're going to read your letterbox.
Yeah, but it gives me, when would I have the opportunity to talk about Humphrey Bogart and Casablanca?
Right now, let's hear it.
Greatest leading man of all time. I said, I'll give you a little preview. I said that the height of masculinity in the 40s was a skinny, annoying guy with quips. Everybody was like, this is the man we all want to be.
Pretty much the same thing now. Pete Davidson. History repeats itself. And that's a tease for the Aaron Show.
You know what, Pete Davidson could have done Casablanca. Bogart couldn't have done King of Staten Island.
No.
You got your own podcast?
Yeah.
What's the Aaron Show?
I get the new items at fast food restaurants and I try them out.
I'm sure people would pay $1 to see that. Only a fucking $1?
Yeah. No, I'm addicted to limited items at fast food places. But yeah. So we're going to review first, or we're going to go into stories?
Let's just start off with a quick review. I think we're going to keep it spoiler-free so people have a chance to go and see it. Yeah, let's just get into it. M. Night Shyamalan's latest movie.
Is he back?
That's the question whenever he drops a movie, right? It's like with Marvel. If a Marvel movie's bad, the MCU is dead. And then if they drop a good one, oh, wow, MCU's back. Look at that.
I mean, M. Night, there's reason for his demise.
Demise.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because going into this, I was just reading back on his career, and we talked about this heading to the theater. Those first 4 or 5 movies, the dude was a fucking money printer.
Came out hot too.
Right. The quality was definitely there. But just the amount of box office he was able to do at the time. And the budgets always got bigger and the returns, got bigger to a point. They started to tail off around the time Lady in the Water and The Happening. That's when people really started to turn on him. And of course you got the Last Airbenders and the After Earths. So, yeah. But then he's had this career resurgence, and it's the same thing. Split comes out, $9 million budget. Does almost $300 million worldwide. Glass was a big success. The Visit made almost $100 million off of a tiny, tiny budget. And here we are, Knock at the Cabin. I thought it was going to be like they had an opportunity when they first knocked to do the grindin' beat from Clips.
When they knocked on the cabin, I'm like, I see where you got that title.
He does that, yeah. He likes to play with the title names and the way it's incorporated in the movie. Good movie, though. Just spoiling my thoughts right off the bat. Not spoiling the movie, but I thought it was thoroughly entertaining.
I enjoyed it, too. It was very entertaining. You never really knew what was going on. There's always like a doubt in the back of your mind as much, just like the characters in the movie. So I think from an audience perspective, it kept you on your toes. You kind of wanted to learn more. You didn't know what was really necessarily real, what was not. So that's always like a fun thing to witness or experience while watching a movie. It's not, obviously, I don't think it's one of his better movies, but it's not one of his worst. And I think when you've been so hot and cold, same thing with like Split. Like I don't think Split was anything special, but I just thought it was a really solid movie. So it's kind of good that, get some solid movies under your belt just to show that you still got it and you still can bring it. And as a filmmaker, even in his bad movies, like there's always something you see on screen that you're pretty impressed by. And I thought this was pretty well directed. Maybe if the story lacked at some points, it was always visually interesting.
Yeah, I think he always does a good job of addressing his story beats through visual filmmaking and technical filmmaking. Like you mentioned, you watch his movies and there's a shot that sticks with you or a sequence that's really well done. And I think the approach here, most of it does take place in the cabin. I don't think that's a big spoiler if you've seen the trailers. A lot of close-ups, a lot of quick cuts. The way the framing worked made it feel very claustrophobic. And I think at times, like in The Hateful Eight, it's only taking place at that cabin, but it feels so big. It feels like its own little world with different corners and different people. This was a suffocating experience. And I think the close-ups were just used so well at the right time, getting these character reactions, especially when it came to Bautista's performance. He's just blown me away with all his different roles over the years. Obviously got his breakthrough with Drax, but he's shown he can be very dynamic.
Stuber.
Yeah, dude, Stuber is one of my absolute favorites. And I think what separates him from a lot of these guys who try to make that transition is he's willing to be vulnerable. Maybe he's not even willing, he's just good at being vulnerable, good at being soft and gentle. So when you see that big physique on screen, you're naturally scared of what he can possibly do. But the way he talks, how understanding he is in this movie, the way he explains things, it was just a really strong performance. But going back to the close-ups, not only with Bautista where you see the tension in his eyes and his face, all the stress of the situation, but Jonathan Groff, some of the close-ups of him, just the tears that he was able to bring forth that were streaming from his eyes, and the same thing, the tension and the fear of the situation. Just great performances from those two actors stood out the most to me.
Yeah, Groff's really good, man. You should watch Mindhunter.
He's in Mindhunter?
Yeah.
He's one of the agents?
And Anna Torv.
Damn,
and
Groff
Groff
and Anna Torv? Next to you to tell me Anthony Hopkins is in it. He's playing Hannibal.
A Fincher vehicle too, man. I mean, it's written it's all there for you. But I thought both of them were good. Who plays Andrew?
His name is Ben Aldridge. Doesn't have that deep of a filmography, but he's been around.
Familiar face though.
Yeah, he did.
It's like a young Eric Bana.
He's actually
like better looking.
He was in the movie with Sheldon.
Young Sheldon?
No, old Sheldon. Spoiler alert. When he's got cancer. The trailer, it was just like, I'm never gonna watch this. I'm not gonna watch the movie about a loving couple who has to deal with cancer. But apparently he was in that.
Oh yeah, the movie spoiler. I thought you were spoiling the cancer.
Yeah, they don't say it's cancer in the trailer, but I think it was probably cancer.
Yeah, it's usually a big one.
Cancers. Need to do something about that, Biden.
He was also Billy Thomas Wayne in Pennyworth. Okay. Yeah, I thought everyone was good. Good child performance.
Yeah, she was good.
Yeah. And I think even with the close-ups with her and the first opening scene with her and Batista, I thought it was pretty well shot. And
yeah, he wasn't asking much out of her. So
no, yeah.
When it comes to you and child actors, there wasn't much there for you to be annoyed by. But I think that's almost the better approach, is just let them be a kid.
Another thing I hate in movies that they do in this movie is when two people who obviously have a past together and a connection have like this little signal and sign. I don't know. It's always weird. Like akin to like even the I Love You 3000 and Endgame. It's like these two people, and they use that to establish a connection just to bring it back later on, just to be like, oh, that's the thing they do.
Welcome to storytelling.
But it's, oldest trick in the book.
That's how it makes you that's how you learn to care about the characters. I think he does a good job in his movies for all the issues that I have with some of them.
It's a small little nitpick. It's not a criticism on the film at all. It's just something I'm like, I don't like that when they do that in movies.
I think he's a good writer of lovey-dovey dialogue when characters are expressing their absolute love for each other. Sometimes that can come off as very cheesy or corny. I think he's always done a good job of it. So he did a really good job of writing this family dynamic, especially the two fathers.
Well, I thought both
Because you get no time with them when the movie gets going. They get sort of thrown right into it. And then he did a really skillful job of incorporating flashbacks to make us understand these characters a bit further, to let us know how they were led to this, how their lives led to this moment.
No, I think sometimes where he struggles is dialogue. And I think there were a couple scenes or a couple things said in this movie that are kind of like, eh. But
you're always going to get that.
Yeah, but overall, the way he's able to present, and especially in this movie, these two, like, opposing sides or these two different groups, I thought every character brought something unique and interesting to the story, and it was fun kind of getting just more and more information. I think that's always a positive when you can get an audience invested and hang on every word or every additional piece of information to help paint your picture.
Yeah, it's a very simple premise, but I was definitely engaged with it. I was waiting for what was going to be the next thing revealed, a plot point or a key piece of dialogue. And like I said, it is a very simple premise, but that's always fun, those moral questions that we ask. Is it, going back to Baby Hitler, is that moral to kill an innocent child if you know what he's going to do? Or one that I always used to ask people, if you could save one person, you have the choice, save one person or 1,000 people. And I'm obviously going to save the 1,000. And then you say, well, that one person's your wife or that one person's your kid. And then it makes it a bit more gray. It's like, well, I have a personal attachment. Is it worth it to save the world or save the person I love? So those questions are always fascinating. Can you who the people actually are? It's like 1,000 people
I could find
personally.
Like 1,000, like
it's the NFL.
I'll kill the Jets. I'll take out them. I'll just pick sports teams that suck.
Right. The sports teams you hate would be better, probably.
The Patriots, too. Get them out of here. We're going out. They are, too. And I think the moral dilemma... Well, it's not even... Obviously, there is an aspect of moral dilemma here, but it's also believing that there is a dilemma. And that's what they do good. Like, you never know what's true or what the situation is. And it keeps you guessing in that regard. And it is a ridiculous thing to try to comprehend and base a impossible decision off of. So seeing that play out, like, I thought was pretty well done too, because it is something that, you can say that, like, oh, make a sacrifice or have this moral decision to make, but if you don't believe there are any repercussions to it, why would you even consider it?
Yeah, right. He plays with the idea of faith from two different angles, where it's having faith in something where maybe the means don't justify the ends, and then having the faith that, do you even believe what you're seeing in front of you? So that was interesting as well. And the religious themes that he has tackled in his movies, it's not the first time that he's dealt with some of these themes of being trapped by a group, and is that, once again, going back to faith. Do you believe in them because that's what you believe, or are you just believing what they're telling you? So that was very interesting as well. And the way, like I mentioned this when I started, how claustrophobic it felt. That setting was very closed in, combined with his visual style. That's not an easy thing to do. That can start to sort of, it gets old after a little while. And I don't think that anything about this movie started to wear on me whatsoever.
There's a really great shot of the open door, and I believe he uses a dolly zoom to present the forest. And I think anytime you use like that maneuver, it kind of makes things feel bigger, but kind of closing in. And the way he used that through the door and then shutting the door into the cabin kind of made it really, felt like you were just putting a lock into where you are. Like there's something out there bigger, but you're just contained into this small little environment.
Right, yeah, he did a really good job with that. It's like what Scorsese always says, a movie is about what's happening on screen and off of it. And off screen was just as important as everything happening on screen. So that was another fascinating part of the story.
I also love how, like, as technology progresses, the obstacles filmmakers have to make to present a story where there's no outside presence. Like, you can't make phone calls, can't use the internet. It's like, with the increasing technology, you can get Wi-Fi. I think cars have Wi-Fi now.
Yeah, I mean, refrigerators, right?
And they have to figure out ways to kind of make it so that you can't access any of these things.
Here, there's so many movies where we say, oh, if cell phones were around.
Yeah. Titanic never would have happened. And I liked how they did use, like, obviously it's a gay couple with an adoptive daughter. They made that part of the story and why these characters make some of their decisions. So it's ingrained in who they are and how they perceive others and how they perceive the world in general. And I think they did a good job of making that convincing and using it as a tool to help develop their characters and why certain actions they make.
And they did stress this in the movie. He was
Yeah.
probably wary of that it could have been any two people. It just happened to be you guys. But it does influence how they're thinking about the certain dilemmas that arise in this film. And like you said, it does influence their decisions and what they've had to deal with. That's why the flashbacks were incorporated to me so skillfully, because it reestablishes that you can't separate that from the situation.
Yeah. But yeah, overall, I kind of like, it's you're always expecting the Shyamalan twist. And I guess there was a twist, but I guessed it early, so it wasn't a twist for me. Just on a different wavelength than most people, I guess. But we're all them nights losing it. But I was expecting something. I'm like, oh, it's good. It's going well up until now. Like, what's he gonna do to fuck this up here? But I actually enjoyed where it went, and it kind of, I think, wrapped up pretty nicely. And it was just a consistent feeling of intrigue and up until the very end.
Yeah, that looming dread was present throughout the entire movie. I don't think it lost steam whatsoever. I think the ending almost snuck up on me a bit, where it was like, oh man, I guess this is it. We're ending. Yeah, it is. Yeah. I was fairly impressed by Rupert Grint getting the opportunity to play a freaky little guy. Yeah. That was fun.
He's a freaky little guy.
Yeah, I think so. Harry Potter didn't let him get as freaky as he could have.
Yeah, no. They should have made him Ron, I mean.
Heart of the series.
I know.
Can't do it without Ron, man.
I feel like he's a little weirdo, too. Ron Weasley.
Oh, no, he's definitely got, he's one of those dudes that still buys porn even though it's on the internet. Like, Ron, why do you have 20,000 porno DVDs?
You literally could abracadabra.
Yeah. That's true, yeah. The magic stuff.
I mean, there's a spell in there that can help you clean your poop.
Sure.
I'm sure there's a quick little flick of the wrist, and you're coming, Ron.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. I hope we get to see him in more movies now. Maybe he'll become M. Night's little freaky guy. See him in other M. Night movies. He's good at that, man. And we're familiar with him because of Harry Potter, where he's such a lovable goofball. But this was a change of pace, so that must have been fun for him. And I thought he was really good in this movie. Bautista steals it if you're going to have to grade them based on performances. And like I said, it's just that his ability to be this hulking man with a soft side. Good at that.
Even like in Blade Runner, like he obviously has that fight scene, but when you're first presented with him, he's just like going about his business. Like he's not like overtly like in The Rock. I feel like they make such a effort to be like, oh, he's The Rock, badass over here.
Yeah, he'll be like lifting 2 pickup trucks as dumbbells.
He's like be making making some tea. Like he's tired.
Yeah,
He's had a long day.
He's got the little glasses. He's got bad vision.
After Knives Out, Glass Onion, I was like, I think he does a good job in most performances. I didn't think he was that great in Glass Onion, so I'm like, is he?
What?
I feel like sometimes like his delivery was just a little off for me. But I think overall he is a good actor. And he's getting better, I
hope
think.
He bursts into this room right now.
He'd be like, no, because he's a nice guy. He'd be listen, it's like, I respect your opinion. Here, just leave. Let me fix this door for you.
And here's a little chocolate.
Yeah, he just carries around a bunch of Hershey's Kisses.
A belt.
A belt of Hershey's Kisses?
Belt of Hershey's Kisses, right? Leaves it right on your forehead.
He even has the white chocolate ones, which are superior.
Right, but those are only for special guys. Those are for people who liked him in Glass Night, Knives Out, Glass Onion.
But I do think, I do respect his ability to take different roles, different genres, not just be the comic relief like he was with Drax, and kind of expand his roles.
Oh yeah, definitely. He's been willing to do anything. And I guess he was billed as the lead here. But it's definitely a risk, because Shyamalan, with his movies, you never know what the reception is going to be. Are you going to become a beloved icon or a laughingstock? And sometimes that does happen. Maybe it's fair, maybe it's not. I know he's got a lot of supporters out there who love everything that he does. You will find those people. And for the most part, for me, he's been a mixed bag, but that's okay, because the good ones are classics. And I think this one, you mentioned that maybe it's not one of his better movies. I think it would be close to the top for me, man. I really enjoyed it, and I think it's going to have maybe some staying power on my mind when it comes to best movies of the year. I definitely think it's his best effort since Split. I wasn't a huge fan of Glass or Old.
Forgot about Dead Beach.
Yeah, Dead Beach. Which I actually want to go back and revisit Old, because I've read so many good things about it from other people. and it makes me want to go back and maybe see if I'll have a different experience with it this time. Glass too, because even coming out of Glass, I thought it was just okay. But I loved Samuel L. Jackson's performance. And I didn't love the ending. But a lot of people have said, hey, man, it's not your typical superhero ending. It's just two guys fighting in the parking lot.
The hype going into that was unreal. I remember, I was super excited.
So excited for Glass, yeah. Well, that trailer was just excellent, man. And I think the Samuel L. Jackson performance is worth the price of admission because he's just so good at being that wacky Lex Luthor.
Good too, as that role. I think it's just an interesting case because, he's obviously very talented, and for him to be able to make some abysmal films, it's kind of surprising, and just it's weird to have someone have those type of lows. Because Avatar, and I'm sure a lot of it went into that wasn't his fault necessarily, but I mean, that's considered one of the worst movies of all time. So is After Earth, The Happening.
Right, and another one.
But
a lot of people in retrospect love The Happening.
Yeah. You almost respect that more because there is an actual effort. It's not bad because he didn't care about it, or he was just whatever. I wrote the script in 2 days. It's bad. It's bad, but it's you could tell that where compare that to Avatar, where you can kind of see that just wasn't maybe his best effort.
Right. With Avatar and After Earth, maybe those are films he should stay away from. Big blockbuster sci-fi. Because he's at his best when his stories are more personal and smaller. And he loves the theme of impending doom and apocalypse, right? The Happening maybe doesn't do it as well as some of his other movies, but I think that's why people appreciate it, because it fits into that overall puzzle. It's an important piece for a lot of people to the puzzle that is Shyamalan's movies. And you can almost take out After Earth and Airbender. Yeah. You can't, but you can because it's just such a different change of pace. That's not what you go into Shyamalan for. He's, so many people like him because he is original. And that is rare these days, that a guy is able to make a career out of this where all of his stories are the stories he wants to tell.
I mean, Sign, Sixth Sense, just absolute cultural phenomenons. And I guess that's kind of where a lot of his fans, that's where they stem from seeing those movies. And the goodwill he's been able to carry since then. He's still a name where you hear he directed a new movie. There's just instant intrigue there.
Well, the beginning of the 2010s was brutal for him, and the late 2000s as well. He became such a punching bag. When I was big into Screen Junkies and Collider, his name, whenever it was brought up, was just, like I mentioned, a punching bag. But I think it was The Visit that really started to turn people, where people started to support him again, or they got interested in what he could possibly be doing next. And the Bruce Willis scene at the end of Split is what sold so many people on his later career resurgence. Yeah. And Split, to me, was a very good movie. And The Visit was fun as well. But it's just fun to see him back doing what he's best at. And I think this is just another solid addition to what he loves to do. And it's these stories that are dealing with the themes of, like I said, apocalypse and faith and religion and impossible choices and family. So maybe he should do a Fast and Furious. But I really enjoyed it, and I would definitely recommend people go to check it out.
Dom Toretto is just fucking insane. He got into a car accident after the first movie, and this is all a fantasy.
It was all a dream. That was End of Tar, according to Film Twitter, was a dream. I love that. They're the movies have become so reflective of reality that anything that's slightly off is oh, this is a dream. This isn't happening. Because movies have to be just such a reflection of everything that's already real. God forbid they ever take a detour from that. I just want to shake their heads. The movies aren't real. They're all fake. That's what a movie is. Yeah. Unless it's a fucking documentary, and even then, there's going to be elements of movie magic. Nobody wants anything to be magical. And when they do want it, it's something stupid. Walking Dead was all a dream. Rick's still in the hospital.
I hate shit like that. It's fun, I guess, and it's cool, but when you start being no, this is it. I'm right on this. Or what's a good example? You see it all the time in superhero movies. Or I think we were talking about too, what was it? Oh, off mic. Was the wheelchair guy from Batman vs Superman? Everyone's oh, that's the Flash.
Oh yeah. That's funny.
Sure, that's fun. But yeah, when it's fan theories of some of them are goofy and fun, Titanic, Jack was rescued and he became Gatsby.
No, he got washed up on the Inception beach.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then he became Gatsby.
And then he became Gatsby. Yeah. Gatsby, that book was about how being rich is awesome, right?
It sure seemed like it.
Right. Just based on the parties he was throwing, they seemed so fun.
And they had Jay-Z in the 1920s.
They did.
Yeah.
Happy ending, him and Daisy. Fun, fun, fun. But yeah, the whole, well, I think that's why a lot of people, when The Village came out, so many critics bricked on that movie. Roger Ebert, I think, gave it 1 star. And a lot of his review focused on how telegraphed the twist ending was. But I don't think The Village, that movie, is relying on that twist ending. It's so much about the characters and having to grapple with this reality that they're being lied to, and that there's something more out there. And what do? Do you get up and leave, or is that sort of impossible once you've been living in it so long? Sorry for anyone who hasn't seen The Village. But so I think that's why people look back on The Village and they go, oh, it's a horror movie, but it's working on multiple levels. I don't think he gets enough credit for the genre bending that he pulls off in his films. And I think the horror genre sometimes doesn't get enough credit either, where a lot of these movies come out and you expect them to be one thing, like Hereditary. People, I think they expected that to be way more confusing, and then it comes out and it's heavy-handed in the message that it's trying to deliver. It's just a lot to take in. It's people didn't expect that twist happening so early in the film. And I think some people were frustrated by that. I'm guilty of this too. People would say maybe I'm guilty of it based on our episode 4 review of The Last of Us. You have to just take a movie for what it is and not what you're anticipating it to be. But this movie totally delivered on that trailer. This was just like an extended version of the trailer. And I'm like, the trailer had me hooked, and this is awesome. So I enjoyed it.
Me too.
All right, guys, before we move on to the next topic in this podcast, I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor for today's episode, and that would be Storyblocks. Calling all content creators, I want to take a quick moment of your time to introduce you to Storyblocks. Storyblocks has one of the largest libraries of royalty-free footage, templates, music, and photo assets on the internet. Plus, they have an easy-to-use video editor and unlimited downloads that allow you to easily test out different effects, clips, or tracks in order to bring your creative vision to life. New content is added regularly, prioritizing in-demand keywords, so you always have what you need to stay current with trends and news. Unlike other stock companies, Storyblocks offers subscription plans for a set price. No credit systems that drain your budget or those pesky hidden fees. Storyblocks makes payments simple so you can stop worrying about your budget and take back creative control. Choose from thousands of pre-made professional templates for your favorite editing programs, including After Effects, Premiere Pro, or Apple Motion, to take your videos to the next level and speed up your creative workflow. For Adobe users, Storyblocks is now introducing Storyblocks plugin for Premiere Pro. The Storyblocks plugin helps you streamline your creative process by bringing their library directly into your editor. You can easily discover and download new content without switching between platforms, giving you more time for important things, like creating. So head on over to storyblocks.com/nerdsoup and pick a plan that is right for you. You may be interested in an individual plan, or for larger creative teams, you can sign up for their business subscription, which provides all the benefits of a Storyblocks subscription, plus additional benefits like shared folders, administrative controls, download to cloud functionality, and more. So, like we said, head on over to storyblocks.com/nerdsoup and pick a plan that is right for you. All right, well, let's move on here to U.S. weekend box office. That is our review of Knock at the Cabin, which happened to come in at number 1, knocking off Avatar: The Way of Water, as did 80 for Brady.
So, I refuse to see that movie.
Well, who's going to make you see 80 for Brady?
I don't know, but if I will never watch it.
Okay. You don't like film legends? Jane Fonda, Lily Tomlin?
Not anymore.
Rita Moreno?
I used to have respect for them.
Oh, my God. Let them get some money.
Why couldn't it be 80 for Sanchez?
Oh, okay. I forgot the whole Brady thing you're still keeping. It's tough because
80 for Jeter. Oh my God, such a better movie. Tom Brady. It's a fucking weirdo.
But what's the occasion?
It's Jeter.
It's based on a true story, though. They went for their 80th birthday. They went to see that Super Bowl where he came back.
Just morally, he's got caught cheating. He got suspended. I just think it's a bad message for the kids.
Are you still one of these losers who's trying to deny Brady's GOAT status? It's just too much at this point. Like, maybe
GOAT football, but GOAT human? I don't think so.
Nobody said GOAT human.
That's, some people think so.
Nobody can compete with Bob Ross.
Abandoning his children, got divorced.
Did he? I feel like he still sees him on the weekends. They throw the football around.
I don't know.
It's deflated.
TB12, what's that?
It's a key to success.
Yeah.
Not this past season. Well, A Knock at the Cabin, number 1 with 14 million domestically. Worldwide, it's oh boy.
Yeah.
Jesus fucking Christ. I think one of my teeth fell out. It's at 21 million worldwide. So against a $20 million budget. Like I mentioned during the review, the guy's been a money printer throughout his career, so we'll see how this one goes. This
who
definitely
needs a money printer? Tom Brady, after he lost all of his money in crypto.
Well, number 2 was 80 for Brady. Maybe he's being cut into the box office. Hopefully he's got some points. 12 million. And worldwide, it's at 12 million. So it's still got some ways to go. My mom actually saw it. I should have had her and her friend Michelle review it. They didn't like it.
No?
No.
I feel like that's old people Avengers.
Right. Well, she's more excited for the other Jane Fonda and Diane Keaton, where they go to Italy because she's getting engaged. It's another foursome.
What athlete?
I can't remember the other two. No athlete. Messi.
Yeah. That's a film. That's a picture.
They're like, who is this guy? Is this the next Wolverine? Number 3, Avatar: The Way of Water, and made another 11 million worldwide. It's at 2.176 billion. So our predictions were both incorrect.
I said 2, Bill.
No.
Yeah.
No, you didn't. Go back to that episode. Because I went higher. I remember I settled on 1.8.
Yeah. And I was like, nah, 2. Mark it.
Yeah, I don't think so.
No, I think
You've been
so.
hanging out with Teddy a little. He still hasn't given you that money, huh?
No.
So what, you're just going to Teddy me? If you're being Teddy, do you have to Teddy somebody else?
It's a disease.
Yeah, that would make an interesting horror movie. Is you're passing on the curse of being a scumbag.
It's spreading like wildfire. We need another vaccine.
Number 4 was BTS, yet to come in cinemas. Made 8 million. There's really no information on this one. Yeah, I think it's a little documentary. So Marissa definitely contributed to that. It's probably the first movie she's seen in 3 years. And number 5, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, made another 7.8 million worldwide. That's at 370 million against a $90 million budget.
Wow.
That's a movie that's really taken over the internet. A lot of clips being shared. People really enjoying the animation.
They got to make another Shrek.
Eddie Murphy was throwing shots when they asked him, should they make another Shrek? Oh, would you be down for a Donkey spinoff? And he's like, yeah, Donkey's way funnier than Puss. So.
He is.
I don't know if Donkey's a lead. Great supporting, but you can't win a championship with him as your number 1.
But when you saw Puss, you're like, that's a lead?
Yeah, right away. I mean, they gave him the movie.
Yeah.
This is come on, he's on his second film here.
Yeah. There's a joke somewhere about second pussy, but...
Is there?
Maybe. I'll think of it.
What's wrong with you psychologically?
I don't know, man. I was looking at the Avatar. It's just consistent, man. There's still like room for another decent chunk of money coming out. And with the re-releases, they're re-releasing Titanic next week. You see that? You hear about that?
I did, yeah.
James Cameron, man.
He's a son of a bitch.
He just needs money.
He does. Well, he wants to shore up those records.
Do you think you'll see a consistent drop-off? Or will this help like a potential third Avatar?
Oh.
Like, will they consistently get less and less? Like, all right, this one 2.9, this one 2.4, and then 2.1, 1.9. Or will, like, now that it's back, now that it's coming in only a couple of years, it will kind of just keep building momentum?
Yeah, we'll have to see. Honestly, I think there's a chance of it declining. Only because when you look at Star Wars, The Last Jedi came out, a lot of people didn't come back to see it, even though it got incredible reviews. Everything you heard from most critics was, this is just as good as Episode 7. So I think the 13-year cushion helped it, because a lot of people were like, oh, we haven't done this in a while, let's go back to Pandora. It's so hard to get up to that $3 billion.
Well, the people who hated Avatar... Maybe they forgot they hated Avatar. I went to go see 2, and now they're reminded. It's like, oh, yeah, I just don't like this.
Right, yeah. Maybe if they... it will be interesting to see.
Yeah.
Because that will definitely fill us into how it's going to play out over the 4 or 5. But at the very least, they're coming out.
It is interesting that people who just never go to movies like want to see Avatar.
Well, also, same thing with the first movie. A lot of people went to see it, but most of those people are paying higher prices than for your average movie. So if 100 people go and see Avatar... it's going to make more money than if 100 people go see Puss in Boots. So it has that going for it, but that's part of the movie. That's how he wants to sell it. And that's the best way to experience it. It's not like it's a gimmick. Now they're doing, you see this? Scream 6 is going to be in 3D. It's coming back again. It's just like 2008.
But like Scream's doing it like in a
gimmicky way. Give us
Yeah.
more money type of way.
No, but like the way their films are structured are always like a commentary on. It's like very self-aware. I feel like I don't.
If it's written into the script, I'd be
Yeah.
very impressed by that. But I'm pretty sure it's just like the theaters are going to put it out in 3D.
Oh, that's weird.
Did you read that it was part of the story? Because that would be
I was
hilarious.
just assuming because that's what
It's going to be New
the
York
last
City
one
in
did.
3D.
Was a very heavy-handed commentary on horror.
Yeah, but not on Avatar. You think James
Anyone
Cameron
can get
moves
the
the needle
smoke.
that much?
Yeah, he
The
does.
Scream franchise is like, you know what? We normally only focus on the horror movies of the day, but
Anyone can get it.
that's like scary movie shit.
I mean, that's what it's called. That's why I
fun.
didn't like the last one. It became. I think I went too far into that.
But that's all the Scream movies.
I know, but
That's
it's
what
like
they've
the
been
fifth-
doing
it's
since
the fifth.
1990 whatever.
fool me once, shame on you. Fool me 5
But
times.
I don't think they're trying
Why
to
am I in
fool
this
you.
theater?
I think it's
I know,
it's
but
very intentional.
well, the AMC
It's
shit.
a shame that
is-
you and Nash just don't know how to have fun with your movies.
I have a ball.
What was the other one that he didn't? Oh, the Fast and Furious, where he's so.
I'm not anti-fast.
I know. I was saying Nash was.
I eat at all hours. I ain't fasting.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't support fasting either. For other people, fine. I just don't want to do it myself. I feel like it's a little disrespectful.
Fasting?
Yeah, I'm not going to eat today.
Well, there's religious
fuck
reasons.
you.
Some people do.
Yeah, that's fine. I respect religion.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like it.
If you're non-religious and you're fasting, fuck you. Unless you listen to our videos, then fuck your mother.
I've like intermittent fasted before.
Yeah, it's just pretentious.
I'm just too hungry in the morning.
Well, they say the best way to do it is noon to noon.
I can't do that.
Well, you eat your lunch and then you fast until next lunch.
That's just what I skip dinner.
Yeah.
Why?
It works for a lot of people because when you don't eat and you get late into the night, that hunger goes away.
No, if I go to bed and I didn't eat dinner, I would be uncomfortable to the point where I would have to go make a snack.
You know that for sure?
Yeah, there's been times where I'm laying down for bed and my stomach starts growling. I'm like, yo, I'm hungry.
Yeah,
But
it's
once
probably
I
because you
thought-
had eaten food at 4.
I think it's easier to wait until later on in the day to eat. Because I'm not. Who cares? I had a perfect segue before we went on this whole thing. Go back to talk when you were talking about like movie prices and stuff.
So if 100 people see Puss in Boots, it's not going to make as much as Avatar: The Way of Water if 100 people see that.
Hey, did you hear what happened with AMC?
I did.
With the ticket pricing?
I-
Hear
yeah.
about that?
That was upsetting for a lot of people.
I always hate when podcasts make the obvious segues that they have pre-planned. And it's very obvious.
Well, I've often been congratulated for making it feel very natural.
No, you do make
Yeah.
it natural. It just happens. Like it would have been natural if I would have cut you off at that point. And
You should
been
have.
like, oh, the AMC thing.
Should have came in.
But
Pie all over my face.
Sometimes podcasts will purposely lead into a segue. You're like, oh, that reminds me of this thing. You hear about this? Yeah, we did because it was on the outline.
I don't listen to any podcasts that do what we do. So the only podcasts I listen to are very manufactured, news stuff, NPR stuff. So, but I know what you're saying because I used to listen to a lot of shows like that. It's tough. It's not an easy job. We also have the benefit of not doing it live. So we like to get our outtakes in. Shit that y'all never hear.
Yeah, no. I didn't really read in too much. I just know they're charging more for premium seats and less for less desirable seats. Now, does that make so? Let's say the average ticket price or a regular ticket price for the movie theaters is $14.50.
Could have went for a whole number, but that's fine.
Well, it's always a 50.
Yeah.
Are
Just for
the
sake
premium
of,
seats
hypothetical.
$14.50 and the other seats going to be less? Because if so, then I don't see a problem here. Unless they bump up the ticket prices for those middle seats, then and I'm like, that's kind of stupid. I will pay the extra money to sit in a better seat, but I don't like the idea that they're forcing me to.
So it looks like the preferred seats will go up. So the standard seat will stay the same, and then the
front row would be less.
front row will be less than that.
Why?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things to say about this, but I feel like everybody listening, if you agree with this, fine, but I feel like most people won't, especially because it's something that Tarantino always talks about. Movies were always the working man's entertainment. You couldn't afford a Broadway show, couldn't afford the opera, couldn't afford to see live music. You went to the movies. It was always cheap. It was always affordable. It's obviously gone, and, if you want to go to the movies and keep it cheap, you have to go by yourself, and even that might run you $20, $25 these days, depending on if you want to eat.
I got a medium
what you wanna
popcorn
say.
and a medium drink. It was $9 because I had like a app rewards, but before they took it off, it was like $17.
Right.
In this economy?
And critics, podcasters, pundits have been discussing this problem for a long time. How do you get more people out to the theaters? The best solution is you make movies that don't cost as much, so you don't have to recoup those costs. You are splitting it. Studios are splitting it with the theaters. Everybody wants to make a profit.
Well, the thing is, the less desirable seats aren't taken regardless.
Right.
Very few movies sell at a theater, especially after their opening week. So when, like today, there was 4 people in our theater. So keep the prices the same for the premium seats and charge $5 for the seats that aren't going to be fucking taken. No one's coming to the movie anyway.
Well, even
so
how
why
do
not
you
make the
enforce
less
that?
desirable seats $5 and get people who are just like, they're just taking advantage of the deal to go see the movies. And also, yeah, like you said, it's going to be an empty theater anyway. I'm going to move right when the movie starts.
Right. I can buy the $5 seat and just go in the middle. Is there going to be a guy like, sir, you're not supposed to be in that seat, and let me see your ticket? I
I've
don't
gotten
think
front
so.
row at Yankee Stadium. I think I can fucking work my way in at my local Regal Theater auditorium too.
I think there's so many ways to get around it. So even if you do agree with it, it's like they're a private business. They can do whatever they want to do to try and make money. There are so many ways to skate around it. I think on the surface, it just comes off as very greedy and stupid. So I don't think this is going to stay, actually. I think eventually this will go away. Because they're going to try everything. It's a typical American thing. You'll try everything you possibly can until you eventually do the thing you know will work. And the thing that will work is the difficult thing to do. You would have to burn down Hollywood and rebuild it from the ground up. So I don't think that's ever going to happen. I just think this is inevitable. That less and less people are going to go to the theaters every year. We're going to see this steady decline, or if you want to call it a rapid decline. It just is what it is. It's one of those issues where it's like the doomsday clock has already struck, and we're just waiting for the end.
Well, you always see, like, even with Netflix, like, they introduce an idea, then everyone hates it, and you're like, oh, never mind.
Right, like the password sharing
companies
shit.
do that all the time. Except for Twitter. I feel like they always do shit, and people are like, this is the worst thing ever. And they're like, whatever. Like 2 weeks later, no one even talks about it.
Dude, speaking of Twitter, some of the promoted tweets that I've seen, nasty stuff, dude. Truly, some of the, like, straight up Nazi propaganda is being promoted to my timeline on Twitter.
I find that
since fuckface took over.
The thing with Twitter, it's like such a ingrained thing that I do use and do and just read all the time that it's like hard to be like, I'm just done with it. But it's like,
it's getting to that point for me. It really is, dude.
And I think as long as you know, obviously it curates based off of like who you follow and stuff like that. But yeah, I see shit all the time that I have no interest in. I get like Andrew Tate tweets on my timeline all the time. I'm like, well, I don't care about this situation or this person.
whole and the excuses they're trying to push things that you hate in front of you. That's the approach they're taking with the algorithm.
Why?
Because it gets more clicks. It's good for business.
But
because you're more prone to engage with something you hate than something you like.
Well, I saw something that
which
was
isn't
like,
how my experience on Twitter has ever went.
No, I go to Twitter because I want to feel like...
Yeah, I want to see people's stupid opinions on movies.
Yeah. It's like I want to curate what I want to see. Like, I think he thinks it's so like, oh, people only go on Twitter to reinforce their politics and ideas and hate against. Most people just want to see fucking funny memes and movie news. Well, that's what I want to see. I can give a fuck less about anything else. The one thing I saw, it was a tweet from Elon Musk, and it was like, Twitter users will start getting paid for promoted tweets in their replies. And I was like, okay, that's actually a good idea. Because you are using people's tweets as promotional tools, they should get a cut the same way we would on YouTube, right? If you play an ad in front of my YouTube and somebody watches it, the creator should get a portion of that revenue. And then the very next tweet and then the reply thing was only valid for Twitter users that have Twitter Blue.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
we'll
so you
pay
do like
you
one thing that's
us.
a good idea, but now there's a paywall to even get paid, which will be a fraction of the monthly cost for most people.
Do you see this new shit with gold verification for businesses?
$1,000 a month.
$1,000 a month.
I mean, like, if that's ESPN, like, they can afford it.
Right, but if you're a smaller independent podcast network, it's just another cost. $12,000 a year. It's like you're paying for fucking real estate. But, I mean, people, his supporters, whoever they are, will say, well, look, Twitter's now making money with these new policies. And I don't know how sustainable it is, because I think he does overestimate how important Twitter is to people, where if he gets to a certain point, like some of the shit I'm seeing on it, like I said, straight up Nazi memes. And it's like, it's not even people I follow. It's just being promoted. It's like, yo, this is unsettling type of shit. This is disturbing. Yeah, you think that he would make it, like you said, it's a good idea on the surface, the whole paying for promoted tweets, but there's a catch. There's no other fucking platform that makes you do that shit. YouTube's not like, oh, if you pay us this, we'll monetize your videos. That's insane.
Yeah.
That's like Clay Davis from The Wire. Oh, just give me another 20 grand, 5 off the top.
And look, a lot of these other platforms, like YouTube, has its own problems, like creators have with the way they handle that business. You're seeing it now with podcast networks and things of that nature. It is...
Yeah, it's not perfect.
Yeah, but it's just hard to, it's hypocritical, I think, also. It's like you said, using Twitter to be... to introduce ideas different than yours to kind of give you both sides. Meanwhile, you lock yourself in your own bubble with just reinforcement from your own sycophants. I'll still take a Tesla, though, if he gives it to me. I think I tweeted him a few years ago and asked him for a Tesla. He never answered. Although I don't think I would be a fan of sitting somewhere for 20 minutes to charge my car.
Listen to an audiobook. Could be fun. Yeah. Get a lesson in on Duolingo.
I haven't done that yet. People keep doing it.
Duolingo?
Does it work? Do you know a language? No one I know that uses Duolingo knows how to speak that language that they're taking lessons on.
No. Learning a language it literally takes years. So you can fluently know a language. They often say with speakers, if you speak Spanish in America and you go to Spain and you hear it over there, it's going to sound, accent's going to be very obvious, and it's going to sound so different that it's going to be difficult to keep up.
No. I guess so. A deep English accent, I have no idea what the fuck they're saying. Yeah, dude.
It's funny, when you see interviews in Australia or Scotland, because those accents can get super, super thick, and the broadcaster speaks more clearly for us at the very least, but he can understand the person he's interviewing, and we can't understand them whatsoever. But I feel like in America, when it's a really heavy Southern accent, to the non-Native American English speaker, that can seem just totally unintelligible. But for us, we get it. And that there was a scene in Atlanta where somebody's got a super thick Southern accent. And I'm like, yo, I understand every word of this. I wonder if it's just because I'm American. I'm not even Southern.
Yeah.
It's just funny. All right, speaking of funny, let's move on to our last story here. Then we're going to wrap it up. Didn't get a chance to take some fan questions, but we're briefly going to talk about James Gunn's new slate for DC movies. And we talked about this on the last podcast a little bit. But I guess we have a chance here to, talk about it further. We were wondering, you had the question, would Blue Beetle be a part of the old DCU or the new DCU? It looks like that's going to be the starting point. So after The Flash, after Shazam, and then after Aquaman, it leads into Blue Beetle. And there's a chance that Momoa will return for the future DCU as Aquaman, as will Gal Gadot.
He wants to be Lobo now.
Yeah, right. Well, the latest report was that it's on the table if they want to do it. So it's up to Gal Gadot, it's up to Momoa. But then the new shit would start with Blue Beetle, which would lead into James Gunn's Superman movie. He's confirmed to have written it. It's not confirmed that he'll direct it. I think he's going to direct it. He even tweeted today just a random picture of Superman. I think he's actually a good choice for Superman.
Yeah, as long as and I think that's what we do a lot of times. It's like, oh, now we're going to have Superman doing the stupid Peter Quill jokes. And I think he's good enough and aware enough not to realize that Superman is a different character. Even though you might see some similarities between Peacemaker and some of the Guardians type humor, I think he's he knows the characters well enough. He's a fan of the material to be like, okay, I'm going to treat Superman differently than I would Guardians of the Galaxy, which obviously, but it's still a little messy, but at least they got there's something here that we can follow. You still have the confusing things with the Batman movie, then there's also going to be Reeves' Batverse, and then the other Superman movie, the Elseworlds and the Elseworlds Joker, and like you said, now you're going to have Gal Gadot come back, and potentially in Jason Momoa, but we're moving on from Henry Cavill. There's still some confusing aspects to it. And by the way, you don't consider bringing back Henry Cavill and you're like, oh, well, Gal Gadot offers on the table. Nothing against her, but she was a good Wonder Woman, but she's not the best actress in the world. And there's a clear, easy way to be we can recast, start over from fresh, but now you're picking and choosing who you want. And apparently The Flash is the greatest superhero movie of all time. So,
Well, with the Wonder Woman character, I think it's going to be a series that explores the origins or the early days of Themyscira. And James Gunn described it as Game of Thrones. That's like the buzzword for fantasy shows these days.
wait,
So I think
so that's Game of Thrones, and then they say something else was True Detective.
the Lanterns series. Yeah, so that would be Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan teaming up for intergalactic mystery.
Oh wow!
And
Can't
then
wait for
Swamp
them to be
Thing
like,
would
"Oh,
be
yeah,
a horror movie.
yeah, well, envision Swamp Thing as kind of like The Last of Us. I'm just gonna use all their favorite HBO favorites
Right.
and compare it to the DC universe.
The new Supergirl is like New Girl because she's new to this world.
That's Fox.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's like The Sopranos.
Can you stop tapping the table? Yeah, it's like new Supergirl is like Sopranos. Well, what's interesting is that James Mangold is apparently in talks to direct Swamp Thing.
That's cool.
Yeah. So he's obviously had success in the superhero genre, and he's got that Indiana Jones movie coming out soon, so we'll see how that does. But that's why when James Gunn was first announced for this position, that's why I was optimistic, because he's got a lot of relationships in the business, and I think he really does know who's he's not only a good writer and a director, but he's a good manager, so he knows who to tap for certain projects. There are other names that are being thrown around, but a lot of it isn't confirmed. And I think he is the perfect guy for this Superman. Oh, the point I was going to make about Wonder Woman coming back and not Superman. It feels like Gal Gadot can play so many different stages of Wonder Woman's career because she doesn't age, sort of thing. And with Superman, they want to take it back to more young adult, fresh out of high school, maybe in college or fresh out of college, trying to grapple with his dual identities. That's something I want to see. So even though I'm upset that Cavill isn't coming back, I'm excited for this take, because one thing I think so many people get wrong about Superman is that he is just a normal guy who is being forced to be a hero. It's the complete opposite of Batman. He doesn't want to be a hero. That gets in the way of what he truly wants, and it's to be a normal guy, to have sex with Lois Lane, right? It's a shame because even though I love them both, I love her as Lois, I love Henry Cavill as Superman, they have no chemistry.
No.
It kind of sucks, even though they're so good at those characters. So I'm excited for this new Superman, and then that's going to be followed by, like I mentioned, a Supergirl movie. The Batman stuff is where I'm most worried, because I think there's potential for, especially if this bullshit Batman and the Brave and the Bold movie comes out and it's really good and it does better than Matt Reeves' Batman at the box office, they're going to be like, fuck you, you're not getting a trilogy.
It might. I mean, I don't know.
Right. It's like
But even having Damien,
it's like having two families.
yeah. Huh?
Where James Gunn is a dad he's got a secret family.
Who's the secret family?
The Matt Reeves and his Batman.
Who does
He's
he
like, oh
want?
no, you're fine. I'm
Yeah.
busy with work. I got to take off a few months. Is Daddy coming home?
Business trip.
Yeah, and then he's over with the whoever's directing Batman, Sean Gunn. That would be hilarious.
Damn.
I am not the only great director in my family. And then all of a sudden he's more focused on the Harcourt movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like I wonder who's gonna return. It's like, yeah, got to bring over some of the staples of DC. Obviously, yeah, Gal Gadot, Wonder Woman, no brainer.
Sure.
Jason Momoa, Aquaman,
Right, iconic.
Harcourt.
Hey, at least he's doing right by his boo.
No,
She can't say shit to him.
I love nepotism.
That is some shameless nepotism, dude. You saw Black Adam? Oh yeah, we saw it together, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, when she walked out, it was just so funny. It's like she's just going to be in everything now.
Well, Viola Davis
Batman's
is
like,
coming back,
you gotta call
right?
Harcourt. Yeah, Waller's getting her own show.
That must be the great. Like, we always talk about Viola Davis, like, deserving respect and deserving to get money. But the amount of money she's probably made for doing Zoom performances in the DC these past few years, what a steal.
So she's going to be in a show. I think it's going to be animated, and it's same thing as Suicide Squad. It's about a ragtag group of heroes that I think they're more monster characters than just superpowered that she's in charge of, and then that will lead into her own series called Waller. And that's going to bring back some of the characters from Peacemaker. There's been no word on what happens with Peacemaker. It's sort of like in this gray area, And I imagine because of the relationship he's got with John Cena and because of the success of that show, also the tone of the show, they could bring that to the new DCU and no one's going to care. You could just be like, oh, that post-credit with the Justice League is not canon, sort of thing. They could be the any Justice League.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because, like you said, he has a personal connection to the Suicide Squad project and the Peacemaker project. And now that he has the reins, you would think that he would want to bring over those properties or those characters. So yeah, it's like, does Margot Robbie come over, Harley Quinn? Because there really isn't anything to lead you to believe that anything Suicide Squad related is going to be involved in that like first quote unquote phase.
Yeah, that's why it's sort of annoying. And we've seen it with Marvel. Just because you get these announcements doesn't mean it's going to go down like this. So many things will change. Release dates will change. That's just a given. But that's why I wanted the all or nothing approach. When you're saying we're still going to do Elseworlds, and Peacemaker, we're not sure about that yet. Certain characters are going to come over, but certain characters will be recast. It just makes things even more complicated, and this was supposed to be the cleanup crew. So now those are questions people are going to be asking. In the grand scheme of things, most people don't give a flying fuck if Margot Robbie's going to... if I ask my mom, you want Margot Robbie to come back as Harley Quinn? She'd be like, can you say that again in Spanish?
But you can't because Duolingo's a
no.
fucking scam.
¿Tú quieres Margot Robbie en el película de James Gunn?
I hope so.
See. Yeah, I mean, that one scene she had in the Suicide Squad, ooh, she snapped that guy's neck with her legs. Please.
Lord, I've seen what you did for others.
It can never be me. I fucking hate my life. I can't remember the name of that monster team that Waller's going to be leading. I totally fucked up this outline.
Monstars?
Right, yeah, the Monstars. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be Wembanyama, who's a fucking freak in nature anyway, so. But like I said, we will see what happens with this. I imagine there's going to be many, many changes ahead of us, so.
Just get it right, I hope.
All right, guys, that does it for this week's episode of the Nerd Soup Podcast. Thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoyed our review of Knock at the Cabin and some of the discussions we had on some of these topics. We will be back in a few days with our episode 5 review of The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Oh, and I totally forgot to mention, maybe I'll put this at the top of the podcast. Doing a little podcast editing magic.
Yeah. No, I'm addicted to limited items at fast food places.
Let's Saved by the Bell.
Wow, that was probably our best review yet. Hey guys, Aaron the Nerd Soup Monkey here with a brief shameless plug before we end the video. Do you ever feel like you don't have an adequate amount of nerd soup in your life? Like you're going to bed hungry and yearning for the nonsensical yet entertaining nutrients our podcasts provide? Well, we've come up with the perfect solution. The Nerd Soup Fan Question Podcasts, exclusively available to our Patreon supporters. You can sign up now by visiting patreon.com/nerdsoup, and for the price of only $1 per month, you'll receive exclusive access to our weekly podcast where we answer your questions that don't make it to the main show. And while you're there, you can check out the other rewards we offer to our patrons, like stickers, mugs, t-shirts, behind-the-scenes footage, and appearing in the credits at the end of our videos. And that's exactly what we're going to do right now. Roll the names of the nerds who make Nerd Soup possible. The reason why the crypto crash didn't send our lives spiraling down a black hole of no return. Alright, I'll stop talking so you can listen to this jazzy-ass music while checking if Bo spelt your name wrong in the credits.